Selamat pagi Bu Prab. Bu, mikrofonnya belum masuk.
Ya, oke. Siap Raras ya. Bismillah.
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 Selamat pagi, ini ada Bu Ade Maharani dari Ngurah Rai.
Oh iya, jadi
Ya,
mana?
selamat pagi dari Universitas Ngurah Rai, Ibu di Denpasar, Bali.
Oh, terima
Selamat
kasih
Ibu.
Bu sudah hadir.
Siapa
Ya.
Bu dekannya itu Bu? Lupa saya. Dari
Dekan
fakultas apa?
FEB-nya,
FEB
saya
ya?
dekan FEB Bu langsung.
Oh, ini FEB ya Bu ya?
Ya, FEB.
FEB. Pak
Ya.
dekannya siapa itu Bu yang muda?
Oh, kalau Pak Dekan yang sebelumnya itu Pak Santoso.
Yang
Pak
sekarang?
Santoso. Yang sekarang saya, Ibu.
Oh,
Bu
selamat
Dekan.
biasa Ibu.
Terima kasih ya
salam
Bu.
kenal.
Terima kasih Bu, terima kasih.
Salam kenal.
Iya. Luar biasa ini Ibu.
Oke, terima kasih juga kesempatannya.
Ya, penghormatan bagi kami Bu.
Oke.
Ibu Dekan nih.
Semoga sukses ya, Bu.
Ya,
Amin, terima kasih Bu.
Semoga sukses acaranya.
Iya, amin Ibu.
Pak Adi. Oh, Pak Adi belum nyambung. Pak Adi harus tanya ya, nanti langsung saya panggil, langsung nyala mikrofonnya ya Pak Adi.
Saya sambil nemanin anak Zoom ini, agak trouble juga.
Oh, nggak apa Pak, yang penting nanti waktu saya panggil langsung on.
Oke.
Halo Rara, sukses ya Ras.
Oh, gimana Bu ini?
Ya, Robbi Srohli Sodri, wa Yasirli Amri. Aduh, Bismillah.
Iya, Bismillah Bu. Perdana sih, habis ini.
Bismillah.
Oke.
Oh, itu Pak Darrennya udah masuk?
Sudah Bu. Pak Rayendra yang belum, mungkin mepet-mepet nanti.
Mungkin mepet. Backgroundmu mana, Ras?
Nggak bisa Bu, ini muka saya nanti pontong-pontong Bu kalau pakai background. Gini Bu, kalau pakai background.
Oh, gitu ya.
Iya
Ada
Bu,
green
saya nggak
itu
bisa.
loh. Oh, kamu pakai Mac ya?
Mac apanya Bu?
Ini kalau saya pakai Mac gambarnya
saya pakai
gitu. Kalau
Asus.
pakai yang biasa itu malah keluar gambarnya.
Oh gitu Bu, saya pakai yang biasa Bu, tapi ya nggak keluar, tetap kayak gini. Jadi saya nggak pakai Bu hari ini.
Cantik kamu.
Terima kasih ya Bu. Ini nyalakan ya Bu harusnya, apa video-video itu?
Ya.
Karena kelihatannya setiap aktivitas seminar internasional kamu moderatornya ya.
Loh Bu, jangan Bu. Yang lain kan juga pengen, Kak
Nah
saya.
iya, wes pas Raras.
Aduh.
Assalamualaikum Mbak Nidia.
Waalaikumsalam, Prof.
Suaranya Mbak Raras ya?
Iya, saya, Prof.
Mudah-mudahan lancar, sukses.
Amin, Prof. Anis.
Berarti ini alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, ini anak-anak muda yang hebat kok.
Iya, ini Ibu Prapti ini Ibu mengantarkan dengan meluncur. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Ini Pak Rayendra sudah masuk. Selamat pagi, Pak Rayendra.
Selamat pagi, Bu Raras.
Selamat pagi, Pak.
Selamat pagi,
Pagi,
Pak.
Bu.
Itu moderatornya.
Oh ya, selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi, Pak Rayendra.
Selamat pagi, Bu.
Pagi Pak Ryan.
Oh, pagi.
Di sana di tempat Pak Ryan udah jam ini ya. Udah 9:30 ya.
Iya, Ibu. Hampir jam ya 9.40 betul, 9:30.
Iya.
Darren ono enggak nang fakultas ekonomi ngono? Ya wis kok. Jadi memang manajemen sudah masuk. Nah, tak omong tadi manajemen
Bu Praptini, saya mulai sekarang atau bagaimana?
Enggak, Raras, dimulai aja. Tepat waktu ya.
Baik,
Nggak apa-apa.
baik. Darren, we will about to start the seminar. Okay. Pak Rayendra, kita bisa mulai, Pak?
Bisa ya.
Oke. Pak, kameranya kurang turun. Oke, sudah sip. Oke, saya mulai ya. On time aja nih. Takutnya molor. Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning for everyone. We are happy to welcome you to our first online seminar series focusing on human resource and financial management shift, impact of COVID-19. This online seminar is a part of its series presented by Department of Management, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Airlangga, in the hopes to spread knowledge and share information, especially in this pandemic time, because we believe that learning should be borderless, and even we cannot meet physically. Hence, our title for this online seminar is about the impact of COVID-19, presented by not just one, but we have two international speakers today. And my name is Kirana, and I will be your moderator for this online seminar. Joining with us this morning, two of our honorable and amazing speakers who have such important knowledge about human resource management and financial management. And I'm pleased to introduce you to our speakers today. Our first speaker is Dr. Darren. His Chinese name is Wang Chun-Hsiao. Am I pronounced it correctly?
Yeah, correct. Thank you.
Who is Associate Professor in Human Resource Management and the Director of Graduate Institute of Human Resource Management, National Central University, Taiwan. Hello, Darren. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, how are you?
Good.
Okay. And our second speaker is Dr. Rayendra Khresna in Financial Management, who is an Associate Professor of Accounting and Finance Department, Universiti Malaysia, Sarawak, and an Associate Managing Editor for International Journal of Business and Society. Good morning, Dr. Rayendra.
Morning.
Sehat, Pak?
Sehat.
Okay. Since we have two experts joining us today, what a good opportunity to sharing our knowledge, right? I sincerely hope that this conversation continues. Those of you who join us today will also put your question in the chat. You can ask your question in Indonesia or in English. If you write it in Indonesia, we will help you to translate it. So feel free to write your question. Don't return yourself. Pertanyaan bisa ditulis di bahasa Indonesia juga ya Bapak Ibu. Jadi silakan ditulis di bahasa Indonesia. Dr. Rayendra bisa bahasa Indonesia kok. Jadi tidak usah khawatir. Kemudian nanti untuk pertanyaan untuk Pak Darren akan saya bantu translate. Okay, before we start the presentation by our honorable speaker, I would like to invite our head of department, Dr. Praptini Yulianti, for opening speech. Time is yours. Silahkan Bu Praptini.
Thank you, Raras. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Good morning. I wish a warm welcome to participant today, and special welcome to the speakers, Dr. Wang and Dr. Rayendra Khresna, to the seminar Human Resource and Financial Management Shift, Impact of COVID-19, on behalf of Department of Management Faculty Economy and Business, Universitas Airlangga. I would like to express my appreciation to all the participants for taking time to attend the seminar. Special thanks to the speaker for sharing knowledge and expertise in seminar this morning. Thank you. Stay alive. Stay safe. Thank you, Rama. Taras.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Praptini, for the wonderful speech. Okay, I think it's better if we start the presentation right away so we can focus on the presentation. The first presentation will be presented by our first speaker in Human Resource Management, Dr. Darren. You can start to share your screen.
Okay, I'll share my screen now.
Yeah, please.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, okay.
It's perfect. Okay, you can start the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So you can hear me okay? Yeah?
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay, perfect. Everyone, thank you for thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to do this presentation. And my name, as Rara mentioned, my name is Darren Wang, and my Chinese name is Wang Chun-Hsiao, as Rara pronounced correctly just a few minutes ago. Currently, I'm teaching at the National Central University in Taiwan. I'm also director of the Graduate Institute of Human Resource Management in National Central University in Taiwan. So again, it's my honor to be here today. And the topic today will be the impact of COVID-19 on human resource management. So I'm going to share some of my perspective, and hopefully at the end we can have some discussion, question asking among us. And so this is what I have for today. So yeah, and before I go to my presentation, I would first like to introduce my home, National Central University, NCU. This is where I am right now. And if you have never heard about NCU or been to NCU, hopefully I can give you a little introduction. NCU is located in Taoyuan. Taoyuan is like 30 minutes drive from the capital of Taiwan, Taipei. So it's really close to Taipei. So this is where, this is our school. This is what the school looks like from the sky. And as you can see, I like the school environment. It's very beautiful. And so I can walk around in the morning and at night. So give me like really peaceful feeling. So this is some statistics about NCU. As you can see, we are relatively we're pretty old, so we are well established. And in terms of the ranking in Taiwan, we are about we have been consistently ranked about like number 3, number 4 in Taiwan. So and the student body is like we are considered to be a mid-sized university in Taiwan with the with a student population of 12,000, and we are a very we are research intensive school. So as you can see, we have like 50% to 50% undergrad and the graduate student populations. And as you can see, we have many trees, and we especially have a lot of palm trees. So students like to collect the pine cone in the fall, during the fall. So this is just a quick introduction about the NCU. And so next time, if you come across somebody from NCU, please say Darren has mentioned NCU to you, and so they will tell the president of the school, and the president will give me a hug. So yeah, so this is something about NCU, and so as I mentioned, I've been teaching NCU for the past 5 years now, and over the past couple of years, I had a privilege of teaching, like getting to know some students from Indonesia, and also in the past 3 years, I've been to Indonesia twice myself, and I love both visits, and I've seen some very beautiful places, and I also had some very tasty food, and as you can see, I miss the food in Indonesia, a lot of deep fried cuisine, and I also miss the fruit juice that they usually serve us in every meals. And but most importantly, like during those 2 visits, I also visited some of my previous students, previous exchange students or student was in my class from Indonesia. And so 2 years ago, this is a photo taken in. This is a photo taken in Malan with 2 of my former students, Salsa and Rama. And as you can see, they also gave me this beautiful batik that I'm wearing right now, which I love very, very much. And but last but not least, I also met with our moderator today, Rarad. Last 2 years ago when I went to Subaraya, we had a very, very nice meal together. And she showed me around the city, and she even showed me the Gojek bike, which was very convenient and just incredible fast. So that's why I really love Indonesia, and so that's why I thank you for the invitations. And yeah, so hello, Semoye. Hello, Semoye. Okay, so hello everyone.
Halo semua.
Halo.
Semoye. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Halo Darren.
Okay, so this is what I have for today in terms of presentation, because because the world has been impacted by COVID-19 quite a lot, and as we currently speaking, many part of the world still under lockdown, and luckily in Taiwan we are relatively like the situation has been relatively well managed. So with everything still considered to be normal, but we still feel the impact even in Taiwan. But so this is the topic of my today, talking about how COVID-19 impact human resource management. And and I think right now we are at the crossroad of the in terms of the working space. Like before COVID-19, a lot of companies, they implement this open space where they encourage people to no longer working in the office, like in the cubicle, in isolated offices space, but in the open space where people can communicate easily and sit close next to each other. And so this is this was the office trend before COVID, the pandemic, and nowadays they talk about what would happen if people go back to work, like what would the office look like and post-COVID. And this is the picture at the bottom. As you can see, this is what they create for an office that would be for after the COVID pandemic. As you can see, the office will be more spread out, and if you take a closer look, the black area is considered to be their own personal space. So people sitting in that office, sitting in that desk, the black area is his or her space, and no one is allowed to go inside. So as you can see, I think this is what we are at the crossroad. Like, are we going to continue with the open space, or are we going to this new office layout trend that where everyone's really isolated and working in their own space? So this is something that will be very interesting, but these are something that we still don't know the answer, and I'll show you something that I found. So this was the news in May, because in the middle of this COVID pandemic, a lot of companies, they ask their employee to work from homes, and they even, and so in the mid-May, a lot of companies like Facebook, Twitter, they announced that they're going to hire permanent remote workers, that they're going to work from home like throughout their employments. So they had those ideas in May. So this is something they talk about in May. But as you can see, this was the news 2 days ago, how Facebook purchased a very, very big office space inside downtown New York, like 730,000 square meters. So it's a very, very big office space. You can see in the picture. I want to illustrate like this point, like 2 months ago when they talked about like they want to hire permanent remote workers versus what they are today. They're purchasing new office buildings for people to come back to work. And I'd like to share some quotes with you. And this is from something that I like to listen very, very much. Fortune magazine had this CEO initiative podcast where they asked many well-known CEO from around the world and share their perspective. And lately, these CEO, they've been sharing perspective in terms of what would be the future workplace look like. And as you can see, the Microsoft CEO, he say it's a bit too early to say what the future office will look like. Will it be open space? Will it be isolated? They don't know. But the more and more I read, and the more and more people I talk to and companies that I talk to, and I get the impression that a lot of people are really tired from working at home, and they cannot wait to go back to the offices. Same as students. Students are really tired of online teaching. They want to go back to classroom where they can interact with their professors, they can interact with their colleagues. The same thing. So as you can see, this quotes from the lower half, how the Johnson & Johnson CEO talks about they're really looking forward to the day that employee, when they come back to, they really want the employee to come back to work, because they believe through close interactions, that's where they get all the creativity from, and that's where they get all the innovative idea from. So they cannot really wait to bring people back. So right now at this point, because of COVID, there are a lot of things that we don't know, such as like will we work, like will a lot of people work from home from now on, or will they all come back to work when it is safe to do so? So these are the things that we don't know, yes, but there are something that we do know from the COVID-19. So for the remaining of the presentation, these are the things I would like to talk about, something about like what we do know from the COVID-19 and how that impact on human resource management. So these are the things that we do know. And first of all, like I do know that it is very, like we do know that it is very, very important that company to take what, in a way, take advantage or, really be proactive in terms of how they manage COVID situation. For instance, they can use this situation and to make it, to create, and most importantly, to maintain a very, very positive image in the public. So especially, I'm using a lot of example from the US because from what we read, from what we've seen on the TV, seems like the government are not doing really good job in the US. So a lot of US company, they took the initiative to become a safety net for the employer. So so I have some example I'd like to share with you, and please keep in mind that these examples are not exclusive. Like meaning that there are other companies that do the same thing, but these are these are the company that these examples are the company that did it first, and especially when the government do not require them to do so. For instance, like when the government did not require employee to wear a mask when they go to work, Ford Automobile was the first company that they say no, we have to require employee to wear a mask when they come to work. They also have they even also have the assembly line set up to produce face masks for their employees, and they also provide personal care kits where they give employee alcohol, like hand sanitizer and alcohol wipe for their to clean out their stations, and second example came from a home improvement retail company, Home Depot. How they before COVID they used to close the store at 9 p.m. But now they want to minimize the chance that the employee will get affected. So they implement an earlier store closing time. They also minimize how many customers are allowed to enter their store in every hours. So they became a safety nets when the government didn't ask them to do anything. And the third example was I like this example very, very much because this example came from a membership membership store, BJ Wholesale Club, how they appreciate their frontline worker because they have to, you know, interact with the customers on a very closely basis. So they appreciate their efforts and they reward their effort by increasing their hourly wages by $2. They also they even went on to the next level to implement this pandemic pay leave policy, where if you are affected or if you get closer to someone who's infected, you have to be in 2 weeks self quarantine. They'll pay for the 2 weeks. So they did this first before the government asked them to did anything. So, and also nowadays a lot of employees are working from home. So and as you can see, they're living at home, they're working from home, and so they're also living at home. So they spend long hours at home. So a lot of employees, a lot of people say that they're feeling burnouts, feeling high level of stress from working at home and also always on the video call. So that's why a lot of companies start to provide virtual wellness training programs for their employees. So that became a standards. So, well, to sum up, I guess the guiding principle behind this, how to create and maintain a positive image, is just, you know, the company needs to have a heart, have a soul, and really put employee first as their priority number one. So here are some, because nowadays I know a lot of people are at home, so I have some little a little joke from you. So I hope you can you know, get some virtual well-being. This is a short letter from employees sending to their HR and telling the HR that they have COVID and they want to ask for paid leave. And this is a response from the HR. I hope, although I cannot see most of your faces, but I hope this this little letter brought a little smile to your face. It sure did brought a smile to my face when I first read it. So another, and also I need to, this is something I like to talk about, and this is a really well-known story from Airbnb, because we talked about how it's important to create a positive image, but also most importantly to maintain a positive image. So this is an announcement, a letter, official letter written by the CEO of Airbnb, and how, you know, he was very, very kind and offered many benefits for their people. Okay, this letter was about how, because no one's traveling anymore, Airbnb needs to lay off a quarter of their workforce. And the CEO wrote this very nice email and thanking the employees and telling them it's not their fault, and providing all kinds of benefit in terms of like a health benefit, even though they are not no longer employed. They have their HR to help them to find new jobs. So they were being very, very nice at this stage. So they create very, very positive image. So as you can see in the public, they have very positive praise and positive acknowledgement. But I want to. So that was a story that a lot of people talk about, but less people talk about this story, because this story came like a month after Airbnb announced that they're going to lay off a quarter of their full-time employee and providing such a very, very nice benefit. But later on, and someone wrote that the Airbnb, you know, secretly fired so many hundreds of their contract workers without any benefit, without any warning, without any notification. So again, so that creates a bad public image. So they didn't really maintain their positive image. So I guess that is that's something that we can learn from this incident. And the reason why how the company react during the COVID situation is very important, because what they do during the COVID situation will also impact on how employee will continue to stay in the company. They on their willingness to stay. So this is a very, very large scale survey that Deloitte made on the younger generation, and asking them whether they believe the employer action will make them want to stay. And as you can see from the screen, like 62, like a lot of them will stay because of the positive treatment from their employers. So the positive behavior will not go unnoticed. So it's very, very important. So company to do so, and also positive image is also very important to attract people to apply. So, but another thing, what we have learned from this COVID situation is how do we lead and motivate employee in this pandemic in remote context? First of all, we have to ensure that not only you, the company, is talking to employee, but you also have to listen from your employee, try to find out what are their needs and what are their concerns. If there's a possibility of a COVID case in the company, they will be concerned, and you should be transparent and tell them that. And also, it's also very important for the company to be, to demonstrate that you are confident in this situation and you know what to do, and you have to be reliable. So consistency is also very important. And last but not least, you should thank them for their work, and and tell them why it's important to why their job is so important. The purpose of their job is also should be clearly communicate to the employees. So the guiding principle in terms of this should be companies should connect employees on a personal level, and also they need to show very good empathy to the employees. I have some picture. Sorry for the Chinese, but this is Xinguang department store is a very, very big department chain store in Taiwan. So this is what they did to in terms of communication, to tell the employee that they are confident, they know what to do. So in this letter they wrote to their employee, they talk about how the experience that they got from 2003 when they had a SARS pandemic. So again, this is show their confidence and show their competence as well. And this is another very cute story I like very, very much. Again, from Taiwan, the Central Disease Center, where they have news conference every 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So this is an incident where because the Taiwanese government provide face masks. We buy the face masks at a very cheap price from the government, and so that's why we don't know what color the face mask we'll get. And this is an incident that leaders step up to show to become a role model. Okay, the story behind this picture was a lot of students they get a face mask, but they are in pink color. So a lot of boys do not like to wear pink color face mask. So that's why. So these are the leaders from the Central Disease Commission. They all wear pink face mask to tell the boys that it is okay to wear pink face mask. And also this is a letter written from the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos. Because we talked about how we motivate, how you lead people in this pandemic, in this remote context, and you should thank them for the work that they do. So this is what he did in this letter that he wrote for his employees, thanking them that they're providing a vital service for people around the world, from people everywhere, especially the most vulnerable people, the elderly person. And also later he went on to say that a lot of people are thanking you, especially even the president is thanking you. So again, this is showing appreciation for the work that they do, and also telling them what are the purpose of the job that they do. I also like about this one because nowadays not a lot of people are hiring new employees, but only the customer service, like a retail industry, they're most likely to hire new employees. So this is how Amazon, when they try to hire new employees, they say, they put it in a very, very nice way, touch employee in a personal level, saying that we hope everyone who have been laid off will come to work for us until they're able to go back to the job that they had. So in a way, they connect to the people on the personal levels. So this, I think, this is something that we can learn from, how to motivate and how to lead in this pandemic and remote context. So last but not least, this is what I think how can we make ourselves, or how can, like, if you are students, how can you make yourself more competitive in this post-COVID job market? So in other words, because now, because after the COVID pandemic, not a lot of companies will hire people, and because a lot of little bit more people looking for job than organization looking for people to recruit. So in other words, the job market will become very competitive. So this is what I think, like in general, like in a very small nutshell, in terms of what I think, how can we become more competitive in this post-COVID job market, is the first of all, because nowadays they always talk about how COVID is like it's like a big factor to move the to make everything very digital and make digital transformation so and so fast. And so again, so as a result, like nowadays we should know we should have very good digital skills. So in other words, we not only need to have a high IQ, but also we also need to have good emotional IQ. We also we need to have another digital Q, that you know how to use digital, and you know not how to do, but also how to do it safely, and also how to keep your emotional intelligent when you on this when doing anything remotely. And secondly, I also think that, because nowadays a company are really cautious in terms of their hiring. Still, they don't hire as many people as they used to. So I think that for us to become more competitive, we need to be both very specialized in terms of what we do. We need to have one or two very good expertise, but we also need to understand about other fields too. So that's why I'm saying we need to be both a specialist and a generalist, because I think in the future we're going to work in a smaller team, in a very cross-functional team environment. So that I think being a specialist and generalist will become very important. And by doing so, and also required to have a very good mindset to growth, that you're always learning and you're not afraid to try anything. So in other words, you have very good flexibilities. And last but not least, and I hope I'm still good with the time. And as the organization, because nowadays because of COVID, a lot of organizations are facing disruption in their supply chain, their manufacturing base, and so I guess I know for a fact that a lot of companies they're expanding their where they do their businesses and where they get their supply from, where they do their logistics, where they have their manufacturing bases. So they're going to have many. So back in the days, they can have one factories in one location, but nowadays they're going to spread out across different regions in the different world, just to minimize the risks if in the future there's another pandemic hit. So in other words, organizations are going to become very multinationals. So they're going to need employees who can function really well across different cultural contexts. So I think for us to become more competitive in the future, we need to have a very good cultural intelligence, the skill that you need in able to function well in the very diverse cultural context, understanding the meaning between understanding behind, like have a cultural understanding, and also understanding why people do certain things but not other, but in certain regions, and also and by you cannot just have a good cultural intelligence but you also need to be mobile. You need to be able to be flexible and mobile in terms of your organization want to ask you to go somewhere. If you have very good mobility to go, the willingness to go, I think that will make you more competitive in the job market. Also make you learn more, and also make you to make you move faster on your career ladder in an organization, I think. Yeah. And so that concludes my presentations. I hope you I hope you learned. I hope you took something meaningful, and I hope at the end we can have some discussions. And last but not least, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for listening to my presentation. And terima kasih. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Darren, for the wonderful presentation. Untuk Bapak Ibu yang ingin berdiskusi dengan Pak Darren, nanti di sesi Q&A akan saya persilahkan. Silakan raise hand ya. Sesi Q&A akan dimulai setelah speaker kedua selesai presentasi. Pertanyaan untuk Bapak Darren bisa dituliskan juga di chat. Terima kasih. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. And we can go on now to our second speaker, our wonderful next wonderful presentation by Dr. Rayendra about financial management. So Dr. Rayendra, you can share your screen.
Okay, thank you. I hope my voice also clear.
Yeah, we can hear it clearly.
Yeah. First of all, of course, thank you for the invitations from Faculty of Economy and Business, Universitas Airlangga. And then I feel honored now today to discuss, I hope discuss, not to in one way interaction. I hope we can discuss about the financial management shift during the COVID-19. So when the Bumade asked me about the topic, the first thing that popped up in my mind is to deliver about who is actually the biggest loser in this COVID-19. Because not only in Indonesia, not only in Taiwan or in Hong Kong, but also in Germany, in UK, in US, it's quite anomaly when we are looking on the stock market, for example. While the economic growth now is negative, but stock market still increasing, and then we know some companies said they cannot afford to pay their debt, and some companies said, but they said they cannot pay the debt, but their net income still okay. So today I'm going to discuss about actually who's the biggest loser on this COVID-19. So yeah, the perspective is actually more on financial management. It's maybe quite different with Dr. Darren just now, but later on you will see how my topic actually quite related when I saw Dr. Darren presentation. It's quite related with what he just presented just now. So okay, the first thing that we have to remember that actually this COVID-19 crisis is totally different, or in research we call it significantly different with the previous crisis. The previous crisis is appeared from the financial market, or maybe it comes from the real market. Meanwhile, this COVID-19 is actually started from the health problems. So I give example, the 97-98 monetary crisis, which is start from Korea and Thailand. It hit first the financial sectors. And then we know what is the remedy for that, what is the remedy to solve that issue. Or the subprime mortgage 2008, for example. Subprime mortgage 2008, in the end, most Europe country or let's say the America, they know the remedy is just to print the money. And it solved the problem. And then if we still remember in many research papers, when there is a crisis, we keep saying that SME or informal economy will survive. But actually that is the perspective, that kind of premise is cannot be hold for this COVID-19 crisis, because the source or the causes of the crisis is different. I'll give you an example like subprime mortgage 2008. It comes from the financial market. Of course, SME and informal economy, they don't play in financial market. So what happened in financial market, stay in financial market, and then you will not hit SME or the informal economy badly. Meanwhile, COVID-19 is start from the health problem, means that productivity like what Dr. Darren said just now, productivity decreasing, and then people cannot go out, and then they don't know how to increase money. People got fear to for the consumptions, and then there's no demand. So everything got collapsed. I give an example for informal economy, like the burger stall in the side of the road, for example, or in the hawkers, for example. When you go to the one, if you want to buy before the coffee, you can go directly to the hawker and buy the burger, or you can buy the siomai and so on. But during the COVID-19, when even it's not a lockdown like in Korea or maybe partial lockdown in Indonesia, people still got fear to go to buy the siomai or the burger in the hawkers. And then it kills the informal economy. So why I have to say this, because I want to inform to all of us, actually, we cannot presume the problem in monetary crisis, subprime mortgage, and COVID are the same. It's totally different. And then based on this premise, then we know what is the real impact of COVID-19 to the financial management. And then most likely now government got confused. If you still remember in February, even WHO, they said that no need to use the face mask. And then this kind of argument used by Donald Trump until today, that because WHO said on February you don't use face mask, then don't use the face mask. But actually in April, WHO said use the face mask. So why there's a policy uncertainty in this kind of problem? Because the last issue of this pandemic is 1917, which is more than like almost 100 years ago. And it makes government to confuse which one to solve first. Is it the economy problem? We have to solve economy first, or we solve the health first? Some country, they help the economy first. I give you example like Korea, like Australia, like US. And some country, they solve the health first, like Hong Kong, Taiwan, China. Some country, they a bit balanced, like Indonesia, like Singapore. And then each of the policy, they have different impact to the economy. And then I give you example, this just released, especially for Indonesia. This COVID-19, when you can see here, actually, if you look at the Indonesia, that is negative 5%, but in terms of safety, we are one of the worst. We are number 97 out of 100. Means that when investor got, this is a survey by the Deep Knowledge Group, they make a survey to the investor about the safety for investment, then we are 97 of 100 for Indonesia. In Taiwan, it's still okay, 16 means one of the top, right? And then in terms of that per 1 million populations, you can see that we are also one of the worst. Yeah, compared to Taiwan, compared to China, compared to Vietnam, and so on. But it's quite anomaly also when you look at the difference of from like Taiwan, even though the debt from 1 million is quite good, but their economy is still bad. And this make people thinking that, okay, if we go first for the health, still economy got hit. If we go first to the economy, you will go be like US or Indonesia. If you go like 50-50, you still bet like Singapore. So what is, how to solve this problem? And then this kind of uncertainty will lead to people perceptions in consumptions. And then when there is no consumptions, then there's no demand. When there is no demand, then it will affect the business of company, not only SME, not only informal economy, but also the corporate. I give you example of the data from Google Traffic. This is data from Google Traffic from February until June in Indonesia. In February, people still stay home until March. And then even though we have partial lockdown, people start to stay home. If you can look at this chart, then it decreasing until more than 30%. And then on the end of May, then the president say, okay, we still no need to do the partial lockdown. We got like a kind of restrictions, and then people start to moving. But still, if you can see here, Indonesia economy is still negative 5.3%. It means that when you are pursuing people, when you're pursuing about the economy first, still people have a perception, oh no, I'm afraid with the COVID. I'm afraid with the crisis and so on. So people will never go outside and they don't want to consume, and then it will kill the business. I take Taiwan for example, because I know Dr. Darren is from Taiwan. I give example in Taiwan. In Taiwan, in February, it has a drop, but it's not made a very huge changes of mobility in term of COVID-19. But still Taiwan have also negative. So what does it tells you? Even a country like Taiwan, they don't go stay at home. If you can see here, they don't stay at home. They still go very mobile compared to Indonesia. If you look at Indonesia here, they stay home, but still the economy is negative. So my point is that actually this kind of problem, it's not, it give a thought for people like us in three things. First, because we afraid with the COVID, we don't go out, and then we have more emergency fund. And then second, because there is a huge uncertainty, people more go to saving. For example, they go to fixed income, or they go for the gold, for example. And then at the moment when people do not do consumptions, there's no demand, and it really kills the business. So in other words, no matter you do a lockdown or you do not do a lockdown and so on, it still kills business, not because of the policy, but because of people perceptions, because we are fear to do consumptions. We fear there's a crisis. We are fear to lose the opportunity. For example, now the gold price keep increasing, now more than $2,000 per ounce. And then it shifts our mindset. When we shift our mindset to go for consumptions, and it will give more problem to our economy. Please remember that the more you do not do consumptions, it more harm the economy, because there's no demand. The company doesn't make profit, and then like Dr. Darren said, there will be a lot of retrenchment, a lot of layoff. Why? Because a corporation, a SME, informal economy, you name it, they don't have money to generate. So in the end, whether you're doing lockdown, you're doing partial lockdown, there's no lockdown, this is the one that I compiled from these three websites. Whatever is the policy, until today, there's no proven policy that very effective to trigger the economy. Either you're doing quantitative easing. Quantitative easing, for those who are not from finance, quantitative easing is printing money, as easy as that. So you don't have money, you print the money, like what US and Europe Union do until today. Or you go to incentive on health, incentive on SME like Hong Kong and Taiwan doing now, and then you're doing low interest regime, debt restructuring, whatever the policy you're doing now, in terms of economy, in terms of the health, it will comes to one conclusion: it will remain the same if people have a perceptions they don't do consumptions. I'm not saying that, or I'm not encourage people do go and consume, no, but my point is that this economy will getting worse in the moment we feel fear to do consumptions. No matter whatever is the policy, lockdown, partial lockdown, and no lockdown, if people has a fear on consumptions and people still think that why not go invest in the defensive instrument, there's no cure or no remedy for this problem. This is one example of the change of the GDP. This one already discussed by just now. So how about in the business? Because there is no consumptions, and then this COVID-19 will make company in distress. When company have distress, they don't have cash, they don't have income, it will problem with their liquidity and going concerns. What it means by liquidity, they don't have money to pay their debt, for example. They don't have money even to pay the debt, to pay the raw materials or to pay their employees. and it will affect their going concerns. And in the end, like what Dr. Darren said just now, company will do retrenchment. When company doing retrenchment, they will either exit the business or they bankrupt. And then when they go bankrupt, and then it become one chain. For example, let's say the feed mill of chicken go bankrupt, so there's no chicken farm. If there's no chicken farm, there is no patty factory. If there's no chicken patty factory, there's no McDonald's, and then it become one supply chain collapse. So my point is that even though the government, like I just told you just now, you go to have an incentive on debt restructuring, gave incentive to SME, pay the universal income and so on. But if people still doesn't have any consumption, our problem in economy will remain the same. I give you one finding from from previous research about this COVID-19. So there's one research stating that actually there will be 17% company won't survive. 17% will go bankrupt. 80% from 83 survivor, because this is 17%, right? So the rest, 83% survivor, need 3 years or more to back normal. In fact, that 40% from these 80% need more than 4 years to go back normal. What does it mean back normal? To go back normal is the conditions before the COVID-19, which is January or maybe December conditions. So 9% survivor will be the absolute winner. Means to say that 9%, the rest of 9% will be the absolute winners. And we have to know who are actually, what is the characteristic of these absolute winners. Okay, and then I will discuss it later on. And then what is the effect on the informal economy? When there's a lockdown or restriction of movement, like in Indonesia, you call it the PSBB and so on, it doesn't matter. Why? Because people, if they have perception they don't want to consume, then there's no consumption, there's no demand. So it will affect the company to have a financial distress. Especially when people saw the news about there will be a recession. For example, just ask yourself, when you know that our country, even in Taiwan or in Indonesia, when you have, or in Malaysia, you have a perceptions, our country going to be recessions, I think that all of us, or at least most of us, will reduce our consumptions, right? But the moment you reduce your consumptions, it gives another problem to the economy. So how to solve this issue? One of the ways to solve the issue, one is about digitalization and for the unbanked things. For example, I still remember when Malaysia imposed the MCO. MCO is a partial lockdown. Those companies doesn't have digitalization in their business, they're collapsed. Those business that doing, at least they post or they sell their food in the Lyft or in the GoFood or in the Uber, the what they call it here, yeah, GoFood, and then the other one is a Food Panda, for example. They still survive, but those restaurants that don't have this kind of digitalization, they don't have this kind of orientations, they go bankrupt. With one assumptions, people still do consumptions. And this finding also, this is my finding, we found that in terms of saving during the COVID, they are increasing 13% of retail investor. Means to say that during the COVID, people start to invest, which is against what we want, right? We want that people to consume, but in the end, during the COVID, 13% increase in retail investor, 8% increase in stock investor, and then 50% new investor during COVID-19. And then in Indonesian case, 72.8% there's a new investor in fixed income securities like the government bond. So can you imagine that we have a problem of generating income in our SME, in corporations, in informal economy. And because of perceptions of risk, people go save and invest. So it like, how to say, it make the problem become worse. So this is the thing that the governments has to solve. Actually, it has to solve. Else, especially after we know there will be a recession, in certain countries they're already in recessions, and then because we have a perceptions that okay, there will be a recessions, we are in COVID-19 now, the gold price keep increasing, conservative investment is giving more return compared than you do consumptions, so people will save more money instead of do consumption. There's no demand, and then it make the company collapse. So who are the losers? Actually, all of them are the losers. Big corporations, cooperative, SME, informal economy, all of them are the loser, including the government. So this COVID-19 is not like in the monetary crisis 1997-98 or subprime mortgage 2007-2008. Because in the end, every type of business will be the loser with few exceptions. What is the few exceptions? One is politically connected business. So many research findings show that during this kind of crisis, politically connected business will survive, and they will become, if you still remember the previous slide, they will become 9% of survivor will be the absolute winner. In the other word, those politically connected business will be the absolute winners. And then who else become the winners? The zombie company. Zombie company is not like the movie of the kingdom, like the Korean movie, The Kingdom, right? Zombie company means like this. Actually, there are many companies before the COVID-19, they are already in financial distress because they are not effective, they're not efficient, they're not productive. They are totally like a zombie company. Zombie means that they cannot be bankrupt, but they don't also generate income. So they are like a zombie. You know, like a zombie, like you're not human, but you're not a ghost or something like that. So why I'm telling you zombie company will survive, because now, if you still remember, I give you this data. So many incentive goes to all SME. For example, you give incentive to SME, you give incentive of debt restructuring, you give universal income to the company and so on, incentive on corporate. But actually, this company are a zombie company, which is you give them money. There's no point also. Why? You keep giving them money, they are actually a zombie. They will not become a human. They will not become a healthy company. In other words, it will waste money of the government. So this is another note that all government has to take. All government has to take notes about this. No matter you give incentive, if you give the incentive wrongly, especially to the zombie company, zombie company is not a term made by me. This is a very famous term in finance. It's a zombie company. If you still give incentive to the zombie company, it will not help the economy at all. It wastes money. And then the other one, who are the winners, is the company that too big to fail. What is the easy example? Bank. This is why people ask me, for example, which kind of business that, which kind of stock that you have to invest? It's very simple answer. You just check whether it's come from bank or it's politically connected. That's all. Because if bank die, one country will die. I'm not saying one country die, I mean collapse, or the country will collapse, right? So if you look at the performance of banking industry, not only in Indonesia, not only in Taiwan or in Hong Kong or in Australia, in all over the world, bank performance is very bad. Why? The net performing loan, the non-performing loan is very high. Why the non-performing loan is very high? Because people doesn't have income. Why people doesn't have, sorry, not people, the organization doesn't have income. Why organizations like SME corporations or informal economy doesn't have income? Because no one do consumptions. There's no demand. So non-performing loan increase. So bank now in conditions of problematic things. So what the government did all over the world, they bail out the banks, no matter what they call it. Some country call it, they give like a loan. Some country they give incentive to the bank. Some countries, they name it with different name, but it's actually a bailout. So who are the winners or all losers except politically connected business, two big bank industry, and then the zombie company. So in the end, this is the final note from me. In the end, this COVID-19, each corporations, they need to do a financial shift. For example, what company has learned, this is based on our survey on SME in Indonesia, they have to do capital expenditure on digitalization. They realize that they should have investment on digitalizations, no matter what is the type of the capital expenditure. And then they have to think about financial conservativeness. For example, now most of SME, they shift. Previously, before this COVID-19, some SME, they borrow money and then they don't use it for the operational asset. They will use that loan from the bank either to cover another loan or to go to like speculate to other business, which is not sure the return on investment and so on. But now most of SME, they will become more conservative financially. And then financial shift, another one is cost of capital. So now if you can look at many companies, they are shift their cost of capital to cost of debt, means that they are prefer on the loans instead of on issuing a stock and so on. And if they're making a loan, they make it like a long-term loan. Managerial behavior, this is a good research actually. If you guys want to do a research about that, some manager, they will act still the same. For example, this is not based on research. This is only my presumptions. Maybe there are many managers, they will do more earnings management during this COVID-19. Why? Because they're coming from this zombie company. Or maybe they want to get high compensation. So I do believe that during this COVID-19, there will be more unethical issue related to earnings reporting, earnings quality, for example, which is a good platform for us to research further about it. And then it relates to the manager labor market, because now a lot of company doing retrenchment, right? So if I'm the director or the manager, I will do something to showcase that I'm a good CEO or good manager and so on, to make myself not get retrenched. One of the way is maybe earnings management, or they do other type of kind of managerial behavior that is good for us to research it further. This is based on this is the same report from Deloitte. I take this one, the same report actually what Dr. Darren saw just now. So if our research from this capital expenditure digitalizations is confirm what Deloitte found, which is actually they believe organizations should digitalize the process to reduce operational costs, especially during the COVID-19. And then they just found out in terms of uncertainty, digitalization is very important and so on. So this is our tentative result. I want to show that COVID-19 and zombie companies is very dangerous, because in the end, it wastes our taxpayer money. And then there's a lot of example, and then, yeah, means to say that my point is actually like this. We have to remember, do not always blame on COVID-19. Some company or many company actually already have this problem before COVID-19. And then they use this COVID-19 as the platform to say that, okay, my company become bad because of, my company become bankrupt because of COVID-19, which is totally rubbish for me. And then informal economy will not flourishing during the COVID-19. Why? Because I already told you, because the demand is decreasing. And then managerial behavior, cost of capital, it will be a good or interesting point to research further later on. For example, we can research about tax avoidance during COVID-19, or we can research further about the earnings management during COVID-19, or maybe the strategic orientations, like for example, doing the retrenchment, doing the diversifications and so on, or about the cost of capital. So this is not yet found by us, but a good research in the future. So yeah, in the end, my point is that I want to close in several points. First, that COVID-19 crisis is totally different with the other crisis like monetary crisis or subprime mortgage crisis. That's one thing. And then COVID-19, what is the problem? The problem is people got fear to do consumptions, and then it make less demand. Less demands means no income for company. No income for company, then company will be in distress. Company in distress means that there will be more retrenchment. More retrenchments means no tax, and then the economy will decrease. And to solve this problem, governments should not only to give incentive to SME or corporations, because there are many, there are three moral hazard problems. One is the zombie companies, the other one is politically connected business, and the other one is, the last one is about too big to fail, which is the banking industry. So government also have to realize that helping banking also will cause another moral hazard problem. That's the point from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ray, for the very wonderful presentation. We already have a lot of questions for both of our speakers. Let's start with the first questions. The first question is for Dr. Darren from Maria Mia Cristanti. The question is, what do you do if one of your employee is not healthy? How to approach that kind of situation? Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for the questions. And what do you do if one of your employees is not healthy? I guess there should be a policy in place in the company that is very clear that if you're not well, you shouldn't come to should not come to the office. And also, there's some company that they have policy that, you know, because they do know some people, they need to come to the they need to come to work because they need the income. So they'll tell them. So that's why some company knew people will do that. So some company will say, if you stay home not feeling well, we'll give you some sort of paid leave. And but generally speaking, like if you they shouldn't come to work if they're not feeling well. Yeah. So that should be a general policy. Yeah. And if in the case that if the employee was tested positive, and then it should let the coworker know, and the quarantines and the work environment should be sanitized and clean. So there should be a very strict and a clear procedure in case of something like that happen. And also also in advance, how can you avoid that from, you know, causing too many disruption to your process? Is a lot of companies, they have this A team and B team, so they work in two different locations. So in other words, if someone in A team got affected, and A team people will go in the quarantine, but the B team people will still work functionally and well. Yeah. So I hope that answers the questions.
Yeah, I think that's clearly answered the question. We should have a very strict policy about the issue, right? Okay, I will share the screen for the questions so we can all see the questions. So I hope you can see it. I know. Okay, so our second question is also for Dr. Darren. I would like to ask question: in the midst of pandemic, what are the opportunities that have emerged in this day, especially for the further guidance on crisis, human resource management, mitigation, and response? We have question from Gesti Memarista.
Okay, I guess thank you, Gesti, for the question. I guess the opportunity that emerged will be something that, as I mentioned, I think this is a rare opportunity that company, you can really show that you care about your employees. And if you always take the proactive measure in terms of, you know, how can you avoid and what kind of benefit, what kind of like a health kits that can you provide to your employees, you can really make this, you can really turn this this situation into the opportunity that can make you look good in the eyes of employee, and also potential applicant who will apply in the future. So I guess this can be a good opportunity, also can be a bad opportunity for the company if they don't manage well. So I guess the crisis management need to be well managed, and the should, like as I mentioned as I answered the last question, it should be really clear layouts and what happened and what will you do, and yeah, so it can be a good opportunity and also be a bad opportunities.
Okay. This is like a coin on both sides. You have a good opportunity and also bad opportunity for this pandemic, right?
Yeah.
I see. Right now we also have a question for both of our speakers. I think this question is a dilemma for all of our students right now. I hope you can give some insight for us. A lot of students also join this seminar. It's questions from our student, Michael Etonadi Halomdan. He is undergraduate student from management department. He want to ask you about your opinion in the opportunity and challenge that undergraduate students face in the very near future. As Mr. Dr. Darren mentioned earlier, that you have pointed out 3 things that make them more competitive, but in this very short time, what competency do they need to have in priority for them to learn in this condition? Also, we hope Dr. Rayendra will provide some similar question, but because a lot of students also have financial management, major in their study. Okay, thank you. Maybe Dr. Rayendra first, maybe Darren will take a break.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, what competency do both of you suggest to become priority for us to learn this condition that full of uncertainty? In fact that before the COVID-19, we are facing this digital era.
Yeah.
So actually it has to be related to the how you face the digital era. It's not related to the COVID-19. So for example, the platform can be a lot. You can take from many platforms, but to me, I don't know, in my perspective, especially for student financial management, the most important part in digital era is like data analytic. In fact, I don't know in Airlangga. I know in many university students, the undergraduate still not know how to use Excel. Not to use Excel like you use for the table. No, I mean even the what you call it, not up to the macros. I mean the sort function in the Excel file, because when you go in the financial industry, it's not as that kind of Excel. So after you got this kind of Excel, then you improve to Tableau, for example, and after you mastering the Tableau, then you can master about like software. For example, you are using R, you're using eViews, or you're using Stata, or maybe other type of data analytics. So to me in finance, if you want a type one kind of competency that really needed is data analytic, because people graduate from industrial engineering or even from agriculture, they can learn finance, basic finance, not the whole finance, within 1 or 2 years when they're joining the bank, for example. But you have to differentiate yourself. For example, again, the data analytic, that's one thing. The other one maybe for me is especially for finance student. Today the competition is very tough, and then when you go to LinkedIn, then you can show that many of undergraduate now, at least they pass CFA level 1, or at least they pass in Indonesia you have WPPE, WMI. So maybe that will give you another good competency for you, financial certification, something like that. That's from my point of view. But remember that this competency is actually nothing related with COVID-19. Of course, because of COVID-19, the problem is we are facing problem to find a good platform to study, right? Something like that.
Yes, I think it's a very applicative suggestion from Dr. Rayendra. So We as lecturers should also encourage our students to get data analytics and financial certifications for them to get a better job in the finance industry. Next is for Darren's question, for Darren's answer. Sorry.
Okay, I agree totally with Professor Brahmana's comments on the data analytic and the certification, because in our university, I think starting next year, all the undergraduate students, when they graduate, they have to know about Python. So again, because as Professor Brahmana mentioned, digitalization is very, very important. That is the future, and as a result of the COVID, I think we're going to move into more digitalized world. So data analytic, whatever the software, the language that you use, you need to use. You have to know how to use it, and also you not only know how to write a code. You don't just learn to copy and revise the code writing, but also what would you do if you have become more of a, like when you learn those data analytic courses, like try to be more take it as a problem-based learning, like different kind of, so whenever you face different kind of problem, you always know what kind of code to use. So in other words, so you become more flexible and you really take it that knowledge as yours. And I also echo with the certification, because in HR, in our department, because this year, because of COVID, and the job market become very, very, very competitive. So we signed a partnership with a few associations that give out certifications, and they became really, really important for our students to get internship or to get full-time position. So I also agree, like certification is very, very important. The certification in your study, in your major field, or certification in terms of language, like English language or foreign language, they also become very, very important. And I guess the last point I would like to make is because it talks about how you can, what kind of competency can you develop while you're still in the school. I always encourage my students because nowadays the organization are looking for someone can be not only dependable but very flexible. You have to show them that you are very flexible and you are so I always encourage my students, whenever there's an opportunity to join different student club, they should do it. Project, the competition, they should join, and especially try to get on the leadership role and demonstrate that you are flexible enough. You can work with with people from different backgrounds and also different majors, and that flexibility is also very, very important. I think we can learn that through the school activity that you are involved, and also by the courses that you take. Like, don't just take the courses from your major, but try some of the go also take elective courses from other fields. That also show the future employer that you are flexible and you are willing to learn. I think that is a competency that they'll be really looking forward in the future. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanation. As we heard in the presentation, also both of our speaker highlight the keywords for this for the presentation are digitalization. Darren mentioned about digitalization in intelligence and cultural intelligence, and also Dr. Rayendra mentioned about the digitalization in the business process and the financial part. Then it's very important for our undergraduate students to get ready for the digital era. That's why I hope it's answered the Michael and Tonagi questions. So before we start to the next question, maybe I will give some opportunity for the audience who wants to speak directly to the our speakers. You can raise hand, and I will turn on the microphone. I think it will be boring if I read all of the questions, so it's better for you to ask directly. Silakan Bapak Ibu, jika ada pertanyaan yang ingin ditanyakan langsung kepada pembicara, bisa raise hand ya Bu, Bapak Ibu. Hello, we have our participant, Jovi. Where's Jovi? Jovi Sulistiawan.
Yeah.
Yes, Jovi, please.
So, do you hear my voice, right?
Yeah, we can hear it clearly. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, my name is Jovi from Department of Management, Universitas Airlangga. So, my question for Dr. Darren. So, as your explanation that work from home could be stressful for some people, my question is, what could the organization do in order to minimize the negative effect from working from home? Because I believe that the employees' well-being is part of organization responsibility as well. So my question is, what should the organization do in order to minimize the effect or negative effect from working from home for their employees? Thank you.
Okay. Maybe Darren can answer the question directly.
Sure. So what's your organization do to minimize the negative effect from working from home? That's a very, very good question. Thank you, Jovi. And I guess the organization need to tell the employee that, you know, working from home is very different from working in the office, because working from home, like, you'll get interfered by other things, by the family members, or by, you know, having like a TV around. So or having, you know, your personal belongings around, that can also interfere in how you work. So first of all, the company should tell the employee that is a thing that you should be aware. And so I know some company, they encourage the employee to set, because if you don't tell them, like you know, some employees, they work long hours because at home they don't feel like so when they're working at home, they really combine the work and their personal life together. So a lot of them work long hours. So the company will tell them that, you know, you shouldn't work that many long hours. And I know some company that, you know, they have strict policy to tell employee that every 30 minutes of a video conferencing call, you should take a 15-minute break, because that can be very tired. And also and as I mentioned, the wellness program can also be very, very important, because it's very stressful to working at home. So you should you know, should provide the like meditation, like a you know, just all sharing section between the co-workers, you know, and to minimize to increase their wellness. And also some companies are also doing that, you know, they tell the employees that, you know, they are here, like you are here together. So even though you don't see them face to face, but you can see them through your webcam, and you're still connected. And so beside meetings, they always put aside a few minutes, in every meeting, to talk about their life outside of work, like beside working. And also, you know, so that also minimizes the negative effect of working from home, that you always stress. So I guess there are a lot of things our company can do to minimize the negative effect. Yeah, so that's what I think.
Darren, if I would like to ask more in this, sorry, maybe Jovi want to add some question first before I add something. Jovi, Pak Jovi.
Rarad, due to my poor signal, so could you repeat once more what you said?
Okay, maybe you want to add more on the questions that have been answered by Dr. Darren, or do you think it's already answered your question?
Yeah, so maybe for most of us, at the very first time we do working from home is like, okay, it's not a big deal. It's interesting things that we can do working from home. But after we do like maybe 4 to 5 months, I think, so the stress occurs. So that's the main problem that I perceive from working from home, because yeah, like Dr. Darren already told us that when we work from home, there are many things that could interfere our jobs, like children and personal and other personal belongings, like television and something like that. So thank you for your answer, Dr. Darren. I think it's clear enough for me.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jovi.
Since we already have a lot of questions coming, we will going on to the next question. A lot of questions come for Dr. Ray. So let's start one by one. So one by one. Sorry. The first question is from Ria Mardiana. So what kind of business have a good opportunity in this COVID era?
Okay. For
very general question, but it's very important for us.
Yeah, what kind of business have good opportunity in this COVID era? It's during the COVID-19, you have the only business that will survive is people has to consume whatever the stage is. Means to say that we have to be related to the basic essentials. For example, food or health, and yeah, food and health actually. That's two business that will flourishing during this COVID era. As simple as that. They are the other things, yeah, but it's business. If for the real business is only health and then what you call that one, the food or any basic essential, yeah, food, drinks, supplement, and so on. That's the only thing. The two industry that will survive.
Okay, so food and health, basic essential things.
Yeah, basic essentials.
Survive. Yes, thank you, Dr. Ray. And the question from Ria Madiana for Dr. Darren, I think it's already answered in the job description. So I will move on for the second question for Dr. Ray. Since we all know that cash is the king right now in the small medium enterprises, she wanna ask you two questions. The first one is, what are the biggest mistakes you have seen small business make since the crisis hit? The biggest mistake. And what are some of the smartest moves you have seen small business make in the midst of pandemic? It's very important so we can learn the best practice here in this session.
Again, I'm telling that this mistake, I want to tell first, this mistake actually before the COVID-19 the SME has done, but the COVID-19 revealed it, which is innovations. So some SME, they do innovate, they know how to survive because they do innovations in any type of innovation, digitalizations, shortening the supply chains and so on, but they do innovate, then they survive. So not only before the COVID-19, those who do innovate, they survive. But the COVID-19 is like, it open our eyes and open our perspective. Oh yeah, then that we know that those not innovate, then they collapse. Of course, during the COVID-19, because there is partial lockdown or restriction of movement, some company, some SME, they do digitalizations, any type of digitalizations. For example, they do, as I told you previously, go to e-commerce, or if you go, like in Indonesian case, if you go check the income for Tanihub. Tanihub, for Dr. Darren, Tanihub is one startup company. It's like an e-commerce company, but they are, instead of like Alibaba or Amazon, they are selling agriculture things, for example, vegetables, fruits, and so on. So now, because the lockdown restriction of movement, instead of going to supermarket, they go by they use the Tanihub to match the farmer directly to the customer. That's one thing. The other one, answering also number two, for example, many supermarkets, small supermarket, not necessarily the big one like Carrefour or Lotte or Giant and so on. Even small supermarket, they provide services to deliver the goods that you buy, that you purchase, to door. Means that you just call them, not necessarily have to use apps. They give you numbers, and then you just need to call them what things that you need to pay, and then they will deliver to your house, and then they will say, okay, we will follow the health protocol. That's one smart move actually. So yeah, innovate, shorten supply chains, digitalizations, and then another thing is cloud kitchen. Cloud kitchens, like in Indonesia, like kopi kenangan. Is it kopi kenangan or kopi kenangan?
Yeah. Kopi kenangan.
Oh, kopi kenangan. Okay, kopi kenangan, for example. So in Singapore, those cloud kitchens, startup company, they are really having a good time during this COVID-19. So for example, like Miss Raras know how to cook rendang, for example. Instead of you open your store, restaurant, you do the cloud kitchens and so on. So that's the first thing. The second part is actually SME has to be honest to themselves. Means to say that if they know they don't do aggressive operations. For example, if you don't have money to cover the inventory or the storage costs and so on, then reduce the operations. It's much better rather than later on the SME has problem with their operations. So to me, that's the two things: innovate and then have to be honest to themselves. They have to check their leverage, their cash holding, and so on. No need to, for example, okay, I look at 7-Eleven, they have a lot of inventory, then okay, I have to go to like 7-Eleven. No, not necessarily have to be like that. And then when you know that, okay, now Kopi Kenangan has a lot of customers, so I want to make something like Kopi Kenangan also, not necessarily have to be like that also. That's my answer for Gesti for question number 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it's very interesting answer. It's happened now, so it's happening now. So SMEs cannot just sit back and lay around. They should have to make some moves in innovation, shortening their supply chain. It's very beneficial answer. Okay, the next question for Dr. Ray again from Helena. She was wondering about the liquidity position of corporation and SMEs. Since in Indonesia case, they prefer to use retained earning and not loans. It's about 30% of their retained earning, 30% came from the debt. And she also asked about the manager behavior that you explained before, that it's going to be very fruitful topics in the research. How to detect the bias of management behavior, about what manager will be best on their collective memory and knowledge to pass the downturn situation.
Okay, so the first question is the liquidity position. This why I just told you guys that it depends on the cash holding. The cash, of course, is come from the retained earnings. So depends on the SME how much cash holding that they have. So if they don't have much cash holding, then they have to be honest for themselves. So no need to be so aggressive. That's one thing. Of course, nowadays with the low interest regime, they always can go to the bank and then borrow money from the bank. But I do believe, even though now with the low interest regime, bank will not give SME a good or easy loans because they have to cover themselves also. So yeah, about liquidity positions, usually it's true they use return earning. It depends on their cash holding, but again, SME has to be honest with themselves, how much cash holding they have. If they don't have, not only SME, even ourselves, as the customer, as the consumer, I want to invite all of us, ask ourselves, how much emergency fund that you have now? How to calculate emergency fund? You calculate with number of your spending per month times 9. So number of spending per month times 9 is your minimum saving in your saving account. That is the basic of financial management actually. So supposedly you have your emergency fund equal with the monthly spending times 9. That is the minimum that you have to save. So if you have this, then do consumptions. I again do consumption. So no need, if you, let's say your spending per month is $1,000. Oh banyak, oh, example only, example. $1,000 US. So at least in your saving account you have 9,000. If you have 10,000, spend the 1,000. You have to spend your 1,000. So, but you have to keep that 9,000 as your emergency fund. But the problem is nowadays people, if they have 10,000, all the 10,000 now go to stock market or to the bond and then or to the gold. So it will give you problem later on. Not only SME but also people, retail consumer. In terms of managerial behavior, yeah, this is related to research. Actually, many ways to measure this managerial behavior. For example, if you want to calculate the let's say the earnings management or earnings manipulations, you can use M-Benny score. You can use discretionary accrual. There are many ways, or maybe in accounting and finance, you can go to the tone of top. I can put it in the chat actually. You can go to the go to the tone of top, for example, and then you can go, for example, the earnings management. You can go to tax avoidance. There are many ways to calculate it, or you can go to survey. I have one research grant. It's about Indonesian fintech with Prof. Dodi Setiawan from UNS. We are doing survey about the narcissisms of startup CEO. What we are doing, we are measuring using the NPI inventory item. They call it as NPI. Check again, NPI. Narcissistic personality inventory item, NPI. And then there are many ways actually to calculate this managerial behavior. NPI, narcissistic personality inventory, NPI. So yeah, that's how you detect the best management behavior. Or for example, the most common one is you can see that how much compensations or the salary of the CEO got compared to the median salary of the CEO. If they have higher, means they have a bias in their managerial behavior and so on. So yeah, that's how they do. Of course, if you read, I mean, there's one paper just published yesterday in Journal of Finance. Even there's one they measure about the mental accounting. This is related to marketing also. The mental accounting. This is related what the Madam Harlina said here. Manager will be based on their collective memory and knowledge. Yes, of course. It's very famous postulation. They call as animal spirit by Josh Arkerlof, right? So yeah, there's many ways actually. We can talk about it later on.
Okay.
Dr. Darren also.
Okay, I think that's a very interesting answer. In Indonesia, we have a lot of cases about this problem. Some of them also going bankrupt, like Sorabel. Yes, that's one of the examples. So next we will go on to the next questions for Dr. Darren. So Dr. Ray, you can take a break, drink your coffee. For Dr. Darren, you mentioned both of our speakers mentioned a lot about digitalization, but if you will proceed to the digitalization, there will be time. They need time, effort for that. So one of the problems that workers are facing during this time is that the business process are not eligible for digitalization, especially in Indonesia public organizations. It takes years to convert from paper-based to computer-based business process. How this condition will impact on HR performance and organizations, and maybe you can suggest what solution that we can propose in this situation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Adi Permana.
Adi. Thank you, Adi, for the good question. I like this question very much because I think generally speaking, a lot of the public organizations around the world, they all face the same problem, that they are less digitized than the private sectors. So they put them into disadvantage I can say in two perspectives. The one perspective in terms of they will be in a very, very, very bad position when they compare to private sector when the job applicant want to apply, because nowadays, especially younger generation, they're really informed in terms of the all the technologies, and they're really so familiar with all the high tech technology stuff, and so if the company they want to enter do not look as very advanced in terms of the digitalization, they will not apply. They will not be interested in those companies. So in a way that if the public organization is not on the same level in terms of their digitalization as the private sectors, they're going to lose a lot of interest from the job applicant, and especially the good ones too. And so that is one aspect. But internally, I think by not having a very good digitalization in the company, that also impact on how internal employee can develop. Because nowadays we always talk about how we shouldn't do like a performance review once a year at the very, very end of the year. We should do like the company or the leaders, the supervisor, your coworker, like all of you should discuss your performance on a daily, on a very frequently basis. So by doing so, like you really cannot rely on the paper-based process anymore. You really need to become digitalized, and everything should be online, and it should be easily to access. So the people who rate your performance, give you feedback, can be easily to do it on his or her computers or on their cell phone, and you should be easy to access the comments or the feedback they provide to you on your computers or your cell phone. So that, I think, by not having a very, very good level of digitalization in the company, it can also minimize the chance that your employee can develop internally. So again, that also can create a longer negative effect, because if the employee can feel like, if the employee feel like they are not learning anything new, they are not developing any new skills, they'll become very tired, and they're just not interested anymore. They are going to leave the organizations. And if they feel that way, but they don't leave, but they stay, but they are most likely they're not going to perform that well. They're not going to put their whole heart into the job they do. So like that's still a loss for the company, even though some of them do stay. So I think, generally speaking, they heard the job applicant from the so by having a not so good digitalization in the company, heard the job applicant from applying, also heard internal employee from growth and develop. Yeah, that is.
Okay, so I think I hope the keyword they are right here is cover Darren's answer. So it's very important to have digitalization in the business process to make easier for job applicant and internal company development, and enhance the job performance at the end of the digitalization. The next question, I will open the.
Laura, I just give me another 1 minute. So I'll just quickly touch on the solution.
Oh,
because
sure.
No, because I think I forgot to touch on the solution part. But I think that, generally speaking, I think solution part should be very simple. You should let the top management know that although it's gonna cost a lot of money at the beginning, so there's gonna be a lot of high investment at the beginning, but over time it pays off. Pays off by having a good applicant to apply, and pays off by having good employee to stay and grow as they stay. So I think solution is to let the top management know the long-term benefit of having a good digitalization in the companies.
Okay, so long-term benefit, it could be the turn point for the organization.
Yes.
Even if they have the digitalization now during the pandemic, in the long-term benefit, they will have more improvement, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And next, I will open the discussion for the audience who wants to communicate with our speaker. You can raise hand, and I will turn on the microphone for you. Let me see. Okay, I will call one of my colleagues, Gita. Miss Gita, can you hear my voice? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you have a question for Dr. Ray, right? Please start your questions.
Okay, thank you, Rarad. Thank you, Dr. Ray. This is the first time I see you face to face through virtually. And thank you for your presentation. It was really good. And as you know, I'm interested with the point about some industry, especially banks or financial intermediaries, are too big to fail, just like in the 2008 financial crisis, where a lot of financial institutions got financial aid package from the government, like AIG insurance, other companies that's especially dealing in finance. But in Indonesia, currently there's a case about a bank that cannot let their customers, their depositors, withdraw their savings due to the lack of cash and also bad asset liability management, high NPL, non-performing loans, and not just bank, but various insurance and mutual funds has refused its customer request to withdraw also. So is it still relevant about bank being too big to fail because of their own fraud or business mistakes? And what is your view for this? Thank you.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Ryan. Turn on your microphone first. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Gita. So, yeah, all right. I have to make it easy like this. First things that, even though I thought from the beginning, 1917, Spanish flu and COVID-19 are the same, the formula will be different. Why different? 1917, our money is still gold-based money. Meanwhile, now you have we have a fiat money, means that our paper is just no value, it's a paper only. So when our currency is no based on the gold, so on 2007 actually is the starting point that most like US and Europe, they found out that if we have problem, we just print money. So which is they call as quantitative easing. Quantitative easing means that we have problem, print money, solve the problem. And this is related to the too big to fail. So when the AIA, I can mention the name like AIA and all this investment banking has problem, one of the solutions from Barack Obama last time is I just print money, inject back the money, and then they will use the money to save the customer. Whether the son of the CEO like Madoff case, they run away with the money. That one is different case. But that's the good thing of fiat money, which is you can print your money, inject to the company help the customer. Related to Indonesian case, why I have to tell you this one first, because I saw that many confusing that, okay, we print money, there will be problem like 1917. No, that's totally different. 1917, we still on gold-based currency. Gold-based currency means that you cannot print money if you don't have the gold. But now, we're not based on the gold. You can print your money whenever you want. The problem is the more you print money, the more inflation, right? So, related to the question, in Indonesia, we have learned from the case of subprime mortgage. On 2009-2010, when PIGS, not the POC, PIGS is the Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain, come to the ECB, the Europe Central Bank, and then they said, no, I cannot give you loan. Because if I give you loan, then it will be a problem. So what is the solution? We print money, inject to your country, and then your country give to the corporations, especially to the bank, and the bank give to the customers. Then solve the problem. That's why 2012, 2013, the economy in Europe become better. That's why the gold price in 2013 decreasing. So we learn from that. We learn from that lesson. One of the way like that's, I know I don't know. Anyway, we can mention the name, the Bukopin case, for example. So the Bukopin case, Dr. Darren, there's one issue in Indonesia they call it Bukopin Bank. So the problem with the Bukopin is they don't have the reserve when the customer want to do rush. Rush means that they withdraw the money from the ATM. So what government can do is the government can inject the money to the Bukopin. But the problem is how essential or how important Bukopin for Indonesian banking industry. That's one thing. And then, yeah, government can give many ways, but actually the OJK, the authority already make one solutions for them. And the Bukopin said that the problem is not, they don't have cash, but they don't have immediate cash. They still have cash, but they don't have immediate cash. That's why they restrict the customer to withdraw their money from the bank. Anyway, the government can do many things. In fact, that all over the world, especially developing and developed country, advanced and semi-advanced country like Indonesia or maybe like Korea or Taiwan and Hong Kong, we have what's so-called as deposit agency. So, yeah, whenever when customers save their money in the bank, the government will the government will say to the government will cover if the bank cannot repay back your money in the bank in certain amount of money. Of course, in like Indonesia, it's 1 million if I'm not mistaken, or 1 billion rupiah. And then that's one thing. So my point is that we should not afraid for banking industry, because in the end, so many cases already shown that worst come to worst, government will help the banks. But when they help the bank, they don't publish it in the newspaper. Yeah. Like I told you example already, 2012, 2013, no one knows that many money comes into the banking industry in PIGS country. Again, PIGS is Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain. And it will the same with Indonesia. So that's from the bank perspective. How about from the customer perspective? This is the problem. Customer in Indonesia or in maybe in all over the world, they have to make sure that the number of saving in that bank is equal with the number of highest amount that insert by the government. For example, in Indonesia, the highest amount, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Bu Gita can correct me, is 1 billion rupiah. So what it means by 1 billion rupiah covered by government, if you're saving in the bank not more than 1 billion, the bank go collapse, and then of course the government through the LPS they will pay your 1 billion. However, if your saving account is 2 billion, only 1 billion back to you, the 1 billion will gone like the wind. So that's the two things that you have to remember. We have to remember. First, from the bank industry, financial intermediary. I mean, government always make a good effort for banking industry. Of course, if you still remember during the SBY time also, we bail out one bank and until now become a big question. So their bank is actually a small bank. So my point is that don't worry, government will always help the bank. That's why I told you that if you still remember, all losers except few exceptions. Few exceptions. Who are the few exceptions? One is politically connected business. The other one is zombie company, and the last one is bank industry. So can you imagine that this bank politically connected and actually is not productive and efficient company? How good they are! If you have money, you can open that kind of business. Anyway, that is from the bank perspective. How about from the customer perspective? Just remember that your if you want to have saving account, make sure that the total saving in that account is equal with the number inserted by the government. If I'm not mistaken, it's 1 billion rupiah. And then another things, one more things for us as the customer. Do not ever attract it if one bank telling you I will give you interest 10% bank, because the deposit agency, the one that will insert our money, in each country they have different threshold. For example, in Indonesia it's 5.5%. Mean to say that LPS only guarantee 5.5%. If one bank, I think you know, in your province, that bank promise more than 8%, so you have to be careful also, because the amount that will be covered is only 5.5%. The rest 3% will be gone with the wind also. That's the answer for the Gita questions. Thank you.
Okay, Gita, is it enough? I think it's very clear explanations.
Thank you, Dr. Ray. And the limit is 2 billions now.
2 billion. Okay.
Not
Thank
blanket,
you.
like Singaporeans, they have blanket insurance for the deposit, but well, we're not there yet, but thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gita. I will go to the questions for Darren. It's come from Lala Irviana from Economics and Business Diponegoro University in Semarang. It's quite a good university in Indonesia. So to Dr. Darren, do you think that there will be a new theory of human resource management because of this COVID-19 pandemic?
Okay, Lala, thank you for your question. I also asked myself and also asked, like this semester when I taught organizational behavior to my students,
Yes.
you know, I always, at the end of every lesson, I always talk to them, you know, just imagine the world where you no longer see your leaders, supervisor, you no longer see your co-worker, you no longer interact with your subordinate. How can you lead? How can you motivate them? And so I guess in the way, I think all the theory can be still applied, but just we gotta think in a different term, because like I mentioned in my presentation, like how can you motivate people when you don't see each other just through word? Some people say you need to provide stories, because sometimes they found story to be more inspiring, and so I guess it's just the theory can be applied. It's like all theories can still be applicable, but we just gotta think deeper and put in a different context. That if in the world that you don't see each other often, like how would those theories apply to you? Like for instance, we talked about how, you know, the more that we interact face to face, the more we know each other's, and by knowing each other's, we know I will have less anxiety when I interact with you in the futures. But would the same idea apply to like virtual interaction? Like would typing in text, would that do the same thing as, you know, talking face to face? And so that can be something that would be very interesting to find out in the future. That might take longer or it takes lesser time, you know. But I think I think generally speaking, the theories will be also like the old theory will be still good right now, but we just have to always think like what will work, what will still apply, and what will not apply in different contexts. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Lala. Say thank you for answering my question. Very enlightening. Thank you, Ms. Lala Irtiana, for
Thank
the
you.
questions. And next question, I will try to find some more. We have a lot of questions, so it's for Darren again from EGN Widya Hadi Saputra. Hello, my name is Agung Hadi from Universitas Pendidikan Nasional Indonesia, Denpasar, Bali. The question for Darren is, in this pandemic situation, there has been a great shifting in working from office to working from everywhere. But office space management and tourism industry, as you know, Bali is our biggest tourism industry, Darren. How they can rise and taking advantage of this shifting momentum. They've been suffering a lot in these situations.
Okay, that is
office space management.
Okay. About office space management and tourism industry, I guess first of all, I'll talk about tourism industry because 2 years ago, I went to Bali, a very, very beautiful place. And I guess right now, same as anywhere, all the tourist hot spot around the world, they've been hit really hard by the COVID pandemic. So I guess the tourism industry, in terms of, as you mentioned, working from office to working from everywhere, and how would that apply to tourism industry? I guess nowadays, the foreign tourists cannot enter, so all you have left are a domestic tourist. So how can you well, when it is safe to do so, like when the lockdown is no longer effective, like how were you able to attract the local domestic people to come to Bali? That's another. I think that's something will be very interesting. Like, because from my understanding is, Bali tend to be a very popular among foreign tourists.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't know how Bali is popular for the domestic for the local Indonesian people. And so I guess in a way the Bali needs to change in terms of to change their image that's not only for foreigner but also for the local people. And they're going to find something that they never knew before, and then also there'll be some sort of cultural, because I know because when I went to Bali last time, I had a very nice taxi driver. She told me a lot of the cultural story in Bali. So it sounds like Bali, because Bali is an isolated island. So it's very different from Java Island, from other islands. So I guess by being an isolated island, Bali has its own cultural, like story, cultural knowledge can share to local Indonesian people from other regions. So I guess in a way, and also if it comes to a case that they're allowed to work everywhere beside the office, they can go to Bali and really work there, and just be calm and be quiet and have a very peaceful mind. Yeah. And the same thing with the office space. And so I guess the office space in the future, that really that is something that I think is still up in the air, because whether the office space will be like as I mentioned in my PowerPoint, would office space be more like an open space? We'll go back to open space, or go back to our traditional cubicle setting, or become more of they need a larger space, and people and we still keep social distancing among each others. That I guess that is still debatable, like what would be the future office space look like. But generally speaking, I do believe, like, because a lot of people have been working from home for way too long and they would not prepare. So I will believe when it is safe to do so, a lot of organizations and a lot of people would like to go back to work, go back to office, and really connect with people and that what we used to. So I guess there are some really some evidence to prove that that might be the case in very near future when it is safe to do so. So I guess the office space in the future will be, I get my perspective will be like they will be like what we used to in like traditional setting, but it's going to take some time. Like you're going to gradually progress into like when at the beginning at the initial stage, people are going to be cautious, be more mindful of the distance that they have between people. So I guess organization need to gradually, you know, at the beginning when people starting come back to work, they need to have some kind of space among between employees, and gradually taking away that space, and because it take time to readjust. Yeah, so that's what I really think about how the office space will look like in the future.
Yeah, we all are wondering about that and looking forward for the change in the office management. As there's a shifting behavior, there will be gonna be a challenge for the office-based management also. And I will inform for the participants. Saya sampaikan untuk jangan lupa mengisi form attendance ya Bapak Ibu. Nanti kami akan buatkan sertifikat berdasarkan nama yang ditulis di form attendance tersebut. Jadi jangan lupa untuk mengisi. Linknya sudah dikirimkan di chat, silakan mulai diisi. File presentasi juga bisa di-download di link yang sudah disampaikan di chat. Terima kasih. Nanti sebelum sesi berakhir kita foto bersama ya Bapak Ibu. Jadi bisa dinyalakan mikrofonnya. Darren, Mr. Widya Hadi Saputra, thank you for the answer. Please come to Bali again, he said.
I will.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And the next question is for Dr. Ray. What do you think government can do change people perception? It's a big question for us. How can government change people's perception on consumption, or to attract more people to consume? Okay.
Okay. So yeah. Anyway, we have made discussions about this in another webinar. Talk about what the government can do.
Yeah.
Actually,
there's not much, right?
I mean, it can, but it will be not favorable for people. For example, how to avoid people to go to stock market or to go to buy gold. As easy as to increase the tax of capital gain and dividend. Because of course government cannot keep decreasing the interest rate, become negative like in Japan or in Taiwan. One of the way, of course, either to tax on the financial market. That's one of the ways. So make people, rather than go after they receive money, for example, they receive money, don't go to stock market first, go to the real market first, the real market, the real economy. That's one thing. Or maybe that's one of the, yeah, I know it's too radical, but one of the ways tax on financial market. And then government can give, if you still remember, if you go to the GoPay or OVO or other type of digital payment, why they give discount? They give discount because they got funding and then use that funding to finance the discount. So government can also do the same. They can give incentive to those digital payment or to those e-commerce, and then those e-commerce doing the discountings, and people will start buying the goods, start to consume. That's another thing, another way. Of course, the last part is but it's quite not suitable for certain country that they are open, they're open country like Korea or like Taiwan. Maybe one of the way to do this is to me to set the pricing also. They can make a ceiling price, or they can anyway they can intervene the price anytime that they want. That's one way to do that. So there are many ways from the governments to make people start to consume. Or nowadays, if you still remember yesterday, Sri Mulyani saying that instead of giving the money, they're giving the voucher. So because if they give the money, I give the money like 1 million rupiah to people will take it, save again, or buying the gold. So rather than giving the money in cash or give like the BLT, the bantuan langsung tunai, the universal income, so they just now they make a discussion how about giving the voucher. So if they don't want to use it, burn. It will not go to the financial market. So that voucher that now currently being discussed in Indonesia. So you use or you don't use, but you cannot save. So instead of giving if you still remember during the bantuan langsung tunai during the SBY time, we give money, right? So instead of giving money cash, they are now making a discussion. If you still remember after the announcement of economic growth yesterday, they make one discussions about whether they will give in cash or in voucher. In my perspective, in my opinion, it's much better giving in voucher. So when they give voucher, this voucher go to SME or to corporate. Later on, this corporate or SME can change it in the post office, in the bank, and so on. This one is technical issue, but at least they don't get money buy gold. That one is wrong. So they get money buy something. So one of the way. That's how which is I think is good. Else, to me, then you have to make taxations. You have to tax the financial market, give incentive, or the one of the way is giving the voucher instead of the cash.
Okay, so
yeah, can I give one thing related to the tourism? I just want.
Oh yeah. That's gonna be very
for the Bali thing. No, this is only data from OECD. This is the quite interesting part. If we check the Google traffic, the one that I shared to you guys just now, in Indonesia, the Google traffic in airport still minus 60%. Minus 60%. The high income class consumption is still minus 30% compared to February, to the baseline.
Okay.
That's one information. Compared to Korea, they opened tourisms already. If I just checked the Google traffic in Korea, in airport is minus 10%, around minus 10%, but the tourism is already minus 60%.
Oh my God, yes.
Can you imagine Korea is only minus 10%, minus 10% in terms of mobility in airport, but the tourism already minus 60%. Indonesia is minus 60%. So just imagine how bad impact to the tourism later on. And there's I forgot, there's one report from OECD. If a country doesn't open their tourism in June, if I'm not mistaken, number of tourists will decrease 60%. If they don't, if they open in September, it will be minus 75%. If they open on December, it will be minus around 80 to 85%. So yeah, I'm not giving you a fear things of fear mongering things to the Bali people, but that's the only way that the thing that I want to tell you that I do agree with the one policy comes out from the Pak Jokowi last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, that instead of relying on international tourism, you have to rely on the domestic tourism, else you will face like what Korea faced today.
Okay, I think it's around the world they are having the problem about tourism industry, and the prediction that OECD makes very, how to say, it's not frightening us, but we hope that it will motivate us to become more, have more, let's say, competitive advantage in the tourism industry. Thank you. That was questions from Sinta Setia. Thank you, Ibu Sinta. And next question, we almost done with the question, I think. Okay, we have 2 more questions, so I hope we can answer briefly, so we can cover all of the questions. Again, if we talk about financial management, there is a lot of questions about investment advice, always. So I want to let me see, summarize the questions first. We have a lot of questions for Dr. Ray, especially. Okay, we can answer for the first one, Dr. Ray, from Richard. Yeah. From the point of view of financial management, how do you identify the needs of retrenchment? How you identify? And some retail and transportation company enjoy a lot of benefit from this crisis. What do you think about that? As you mentioned earlier, it's very contrast from the tourism. It's kind of sad to see this kind of phenomena. Okay, Dr. Ray, you can start to answer briefly.
Yeah, I can answer it short. For number 1, how to identify the need of retrenchment is very as simple as look at your cash holding. You look at the leverage. If you don't have cash holding in the company, and you have a high leverage means high debt. So it's the time that you do retrenchment, because in the end you have a trade-off whether you go to business, whether you're still in the business or you out from the business. If you don't want to out from the business, then you have to do retrench. Another need to identify is related to the ethical decision. This is related to the leader. Some lazy leader, they just doesn't want to get headache, they just go retrench. That's another issue. Number 2, I'm not agree that company enjoy a lot of benefit from this crisis. If you check the Q2 report from Ramayana, Matahari, even MAP is Mitra Adi Perkasa, the Starbucks things. They have decreasing profit. MAP, Mitra Adi Perkasa, they're decreasing profit around 30%. If you check out the Ramayana, Matahari, it's around 50 to 60%. So they don't gain benefit. Transportation's also the same, except 2. One is those e-hailing transportation, e-hailing like GoCar, the Grab, the Lyft, that one they have benefit. But those traditional transportations, they still losses. Second characteristic that got benefit is the oil tanker. Because the oil price decreasing, many companies, they reserve their oil inside the oil tanker. So my answer is for retail company, they don't enjoy a lot of benefit. You can check the annual report from the low, those who in the segment low and middle income or the high income like Mitra Adi Perkasa, they have losses. In the transportation, it's only the e-hailing and the oil tanker logistic.
Okay. Okay, so I think it's just we can see with our bare eyes that the retail and transportation company have a lot of enjoy this crisis, but actually, if you take a look at the number, they are not. Okay, and the last question for Dr. Ray again about the last question for Dr. Ray. How for Nur Hamzah? How is the investment climate at this time of pandemic? You already mentioned at the slide that some of them are increasing quickly, and you can enhance more about this. And as a human, what is the investment advice to face the pandemic?
Okay.
You can just answer the general one, because we need this investment advice every time we have financial management topics.
Investment climate at this time of pandemic, again, now you are in trouble. This is answering to the answer with the when it will over. We don't know when will it over until the vaccine distributed, not until we find the vaccine. No? There's two different things.
Yes,
So we can project when it will be ended until the vaccine distributed.
Okay.
If not yet distributed, we cannot project when it will be ended. We still remember on March, people say on June, but now it's already August. Economy is still bad.
Yeah.
That's one thing. So investment climate is very bad. If you really want to invest, go to the defensive product. What is defensive product? Gold and bond, the government bond, gold and bond. Okay, don't go to, as a human, what is the investment advice to face a pandemic? This is, okay, first of all, when you have money, do not invest first. You have to calculate your emergency fund. That's one thing. The first step is emergency fund. After you have emergency fund, then you have two options. You go to consumptions or you go to investment. If you go to investment, then go again to the defensive investment, but match it again with your risk profile. But to me, I suggest you go to the defensive. Like my case, I have a low risk tolerance, then I will go to the defensive instrument like bond or like gold. Or if you really want to help our country, if you really want to help Indonesia, after you got emergency fund, try to do consumption. Buy Pizza Hut, Starbucks, any type of, because you already have your emergency fund, right? But again, it's up to you. But I'm telling you this, you have to remember that the moment you hold more money, the more no demand in the market. There's no demand on the market. SME, economy, informal economy, business, corporations, even cooperative, they will die because they cannot generate income. So please remember that.
Okay. When you advise us to consume a lot, Miss Gita already smile a lot. They already thinking what kind of food they want to buy during lunch. And also us too, we have to consume a lot. That's why open your food now. We can order food now. Okay, and last questions for Darren before we close this sessions from Professor Anis is from my department. It's very last question. In a company with a large number of employees, how could we ensure that two-way communication is smoothly going in this during this pandemic, right?
Okay, Anis, thank you, Anis, for the question. That's very, very important because communication takes time to build, and communication takes trust to work. So I guess in a large organization, first of all, they need to have a trust in place. So people are trusting each other, people are trusting their top executive, trusting their managers. So that is also because larger organizations tend to have a trust issue than the smaller organizations. And so first of all, they need to have a trust. They need to have a trust as a first step. They also need to have a infrastructure where they're free to meet. Like for instance, like Google is a very, very big organization, but every Friday afternoon they will have their town hall meeting where everybody will put down their work and go to a town hall and have a meeting and talk to the top CEO, talk to the top VPs. So I guess if that became a culture in the company that everyone is free to speak and no retaliation in return, so then two-way communication can be functioning well and can be effective to carry out what they're supposed to do. So I guess so the trust infrastructures and the culture is very, very important. And yeah, but I think the leader, because they have the more power, so leader would need to play a bigger role in terms of how willing they are open to to opinions of others, especially the opinions of their subordinates, and how willing they appreciate those opinions. that can be a very big role. That can be a big success or failure factor in two-way communication in the organization, especially the big ones. Yeah.
I think that's a very enlightening questions to end our discussion today. It's very wonderful. Thank you so much for our speakers. Saya Miss Anis, thank you. Terima kasih Pak Darren. Pak Darren, we call it Pak Darren for in Indonesian.
Rarad, thank you for being a host.
Yeah, thank you for the participants also. And before we end these meetings, we will have a group selfie. So turn on the video together. Okay. Okay, we can start to take picture now first. Wait a minute. Bu Nidia, tolong dibantu Bu. Oke. Sebentar ya Bapak Ibu, ditahan sebentar. Jangan lupa untuk mengisi form ya Ibu Bapak Ibu dengan nama yang betul, karena nanti kami akan buatkan sertifikat dengan nama tersebut dan akan dikirim informasinya ke email Bapak Ibu sekalian. Kemudian link presentasi para pembicara dapat di-download di link yang sudah dikirimkan oleh kami di chat di Zoom ini. Seperti itu. Bentar, kurang 2 slide lagi, mohon ditunggu. Oke, selesai. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu sekalian. Oke, sebelum azan duhur dimulai di rumah saya akhiri seminar hari ini. Thank you for our beloved participants and speakers who join us today on the behalf of Department of Management and Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thank you, Bu Rarad. Thank you, Pak Ray. Thank you, Dr. Darren.
Thank you, Pak Ray. Thank you, Darren. Terima kasih, Bapak Ibu. Selamat sukses.
Mana Jember itu? Di Jember.
Ada Bu Sinta.
Lagi boleh.
Dahonnya, dahon.
Ini dia. Ada Ibu Febriana.
Ada ABG.
Terima kasih Bu Gesti dan Marista.
Terima kasih.
Oke, terima kasih.
Ini mah RKS udah ya.
Rame.
Silakan pesen buku Bapak Ibu.
Gimana Dek? Bawah? LHS nih. Sebenarnya kalau ada anak seberapa? LHS kan? Apalagi ini.
Oh, ada Pak Rumaji. Terima kasih Pak Rumaji.
Terima kasih.
Ini yang kemarin.
Terima kasih semuanya.
Siapa yang minta ini? Pandit. Pandit buat dikasih ke siapa? Ya, tapi ini kan enak ya. Jangan lupa, saya jangan dulu ini. Enggak dibungkus aja langsung. Di amplopin Pak. Saya telepon dulu. Lihatnya di amplopin. Gitu. Biar nggak bisa membedakan ini. Saya siap.
Ada Pak Rahmat loh datang, Pak Rahmat Setiawan nggak muncul, ada Pak Ganjar. Masih ada Pak Ryan sama Pak Darren.
Terima kasih banget Pak Ryan.
Kita nanti bisa foto nanti kalau sempat sama Pak Darren kita sama departemen.
Darren, please stay here first. Our department member will take picture.
Ya.
Pak Ryan sudah pergi ya, Bu?
Iya kayaknya ya. Tadi lupa nggak ngasih tahu. Bu Mira mana Bu Mira ini? Ada ini Bu Mira.
Saya beda dikit lah itu. Soalnya jenjangnya beda. Tapi namanya.
Ibu Prapti mana Ibu Prapti?
Banyak mahasiswa S3 ya Bu. Terima kasih.
Iya, banyak anak S3-nya. Terima kasih ya. Pak Nur Alamsa gimana? Ayo kapan selesainya itu? Di Makassar ya. Ayo Pak, maju Pak. Nggak bisa bunyi dia. Pak Karis ini ada juga nih.
Waduh, nilainya jelek.
Pak Karis, ayo tak tunggu nih. Ini tempatnya nage-nage.
Formalnya di depan ya.
Iya, diperpanjang.
Silakan ditagih Budi.
Iya. Ini Pak Dana juga ada, Pak Dana, Pak Eka.
Sudah benar saya.
Pak Syaifuddin ini Pak Muhammad Syaifuddin ada.
Terserah nanti si kalimatnya karena kalimatnya bertentangan. Paradok dengan maunya Arif. Aku nggak mau dengan
Pak Muhammad itu kok rame Pak Syaifuddin ya.
Sekarang kita.
Siapa lagi Bu Indin yang dari S3 Bu?
Oh banyak tadi udah pada keluar nih Pak. Masih ada Pak Dana, masih ada Pak Karis, masih ada Pak Nur ini kangen ini sama saya, kangen ditagih nih kayaknya. Sudah sembuh nih kayak. Sakit dia. Bu Nihai datang nggak Bu Tanti? Bimbingannya Bu Tanti tadi Bu Nihai ada. Bu Sinta juga. Rahmat Heru ini ya. Mana Pak Rahmat Heru ini?
Ya Pak Rahmat Heru. Oh ini nih Bu, udah ada. Gimana Bu, kita foto bareng terakhir apa gimana?
Ayo. Gak apa-apa. Setelah adannya berbunyi ya?
Iya, adannya berbunyi.
Ya udah kalau gitu tidak apa-apa. Monggo aja sih saya.
Bu Mas Mira, Bu Mas Mira, kameranya bisa nyala Bu? Ya udah ini sudah lumayan banyak.
Sudah lumayan ini ya. Ini kayak yang tinggal nih pengen foto juga nih kayaknya nih.
Ya, kita
atau komputernya sudah ditinggal nih. Iya. Aduh nih temen ini.
Halo Darren. Oh Darren kayaknya. Bu, saya foto 1, 2, 3.
Iya, jempolnya mana?
Oke, once again. 1, sebentar.
Darren nggak senyum, Darren.
Darren nggak tahu sebelum saya bicara.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, like that, Pak Darren. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Darren.
No, thank you.
Sampai jumpa, sampai jumpa.
Thank you. Terima kasih semua. Terima kasih.
Oke.
Thank you.
Very much. Oh, iki Venitra muncul permono.
Ini lagi sekolah, Pak.
Venitra, Vince, where are you, Vince? Aduh. Wis kita. Ini memang nek host ini kari dewe kudune mengantarkan tamu-tamu pulang.
Menunggu sampai.
Halo Ibu.
Venitra, how are you?
I'm
Where
good.
are you?
How are you?
Oh, still in Jogja.
I'm at home.
Oh,
Yeah,
at home.
still staying in Jogja.
Jogja. Are you staying in
Yeah.
Jogja? Oh.
Yeah.
You finish your proposal then?
Hopefully this month soon.
Okay, I'm waiting, Vince. Yeah, Bu, Prof Tanti also wait your proposal.
Yeah, I will send to her.
Okay,
as soon as
Vince.
possible.
You can send me the draft of your proposal then. It's okay.
Yes, I will. Yeah. Hello, Bu. Bu Tanti.
Vince.
How are you, Bu?
Ya. Bu Nihaya dan Ibu Nihaya. Ini bimbingannya pada.
Ibu.
Ini bimbingannya Bu Tanti juga nih. Aduh, ya Allah. Terima kasih sudah datang ya Bu Nihaya.
Is the event finished already?
Yeah, of course. Okay, you can leave, Vince, if you have any other programs. It's okay.
Okay. Have a good time, Ibu. Have a good day.
Thank you. Keep health, ya.
It's nice seeing you here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Silakan Bapak Ibu kalau mau meninggalkan tempat, nggak apa-apa Bapak Ibu.
Darren, you can leave the meeting room if you want to. Darren.
Okay, so
Click the leave at the red button.
thank you all again for the invitation, and please stay safe and healthy. I look forward to seeing you all in person very soon, and thank you once again.
Yes, we hope so. Thank you.
Bye bye for now. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Adannya sudah mulai bunyi nih.
Tempat saya belum mulai Bu, kalau udah mulai kenceng banget.
Udah mulai berat kalau pakai saya nih kalau dulu sehari 2 hari 3 hari menenangkan diri dulu, kalau enggak bisa berapa.